Welcome back to Unmute Yourself. I'm your host, Jennifer Carter, and this podcast is about lifting the curtain on leadership, purpose, and the real stories behind women who dared to do things differently. We will talk about how they found their path, the struggles along the way, and how they built something that truly matters. And these are normal people doing extraordinary things because I want you to know you are extraordinary too. My guest today is Jodi Wilding, and I love her story, y'all, because you'll just have to wait and see. It's like expect the unexpected. So she's a former nurse turned coach who helps entrepreneurs and small business owners stop burning themselves out and start building lives that actually fit who they are. So she has this whole journey that she's going to talk about. When she was 18, she changed the world, right? She's traveling around, living with freedom and purpose. And then there came a point where she had to figure out, right, which route she was going to take. So Jodi, I'm so glad you're here. So nice to meet you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. It's great to be with you, Jennifer.
Tell us about you, and especially when you were 18 and where life took you.
Well, I think for me, I look at my story so when I was 18 was the first time I had those two paths in front of me, right? Are you going to go left? Are you going to go right? And I chose to go left and take the unconventional path. I didn't want to go to university right away. And so I moved out west and I had this vision that I was going to I wanted to change the world. I wanted to spread love and joy. I didn't know the how, but I just knew that going to university right away wasn't for me. And so that just began, travels and adventure and really cool experiences and opportunities throughout my 20s.
So where'd you go?
So, I moved out to Vancouver, so the west coast of Canada, and I was out there and I worked with a international real estate company. That was one of my first jobs. So I did that. And I could have stayed there, but I was like, no, it just didn't feel like me. So then I traveled. I did some travels in Thailand, came back, and I worked back in British Columbia doing community service, working with adults with developmental challenges, which I loved. Then I went to China. I taught English in China, rural China, actually right near Wuhan, which was...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
Start of COVID.
Yeah, everyone knows Wuhan now. So I was there when I was about 20, early 20s, 22, 23, teaching English. I also went and lived in the States, Martha's Vineyard, for a couple of years, and then traveled to Central and South America. Where else did I go in that time? I taught dog sledding. I helped train a dog sledding team. I know, the most random things. I worked as a producer's assistant on a commercial as well. So again, really cool, just really random experiences and adventures. And then that brought me to Australia. So I was in Australia around, I guess I would have been like 26, 27 at that point. Well, that was then where that next turning point that we really talked about, when that came in, where it's like, am I going to stay going left, which was at that time, and we can go back a little bit here and talk about the really key moment story. But at that point it was, am I going to be a yoga teacher and go and do that, which would have made sense because I was literally doing yoga for a couple hours every day, all day, or come back home and go back to school.
Okay. So what made you choose, or what prompted that decision to go back to Canada and go to school?
So I'll tell, and because this was a really significant story in my life, and it's still one that just really, really resonates with me, was when I was in Australia, I went to Bali for a month. And when we were in Bali, on day one, something happened where our car got broken into. And so a lot of our money and cards were stolen. So that's important to know at the end of the story. So I was there for a month. And on the last day, I was traveling back to Australia. And on the way back, we stopped at the beach and I was stung by a scorpion. And that was after doing 10 days in Ubud, Bali, of juice fasting and cleansing and all of that. So my body was just pure, was stung by the scorpion, which was really quite painful. And I had to get an injection and I was on some medications, and then I was quite sick. So I returned to Australia and I had no money. I had about $100 to my name. I was sick from the scorpion bite and I had zero plan. Yeah, I just trusted. I had this belief and this trust in myself at this time that everything was going to work out, and it did. And it was great. I had an amazing adventure there. Went back to eventually found my way back to Sydney, where I met up with the love of my life at the time, and which unfortunately ended in heartbreak. Yes. So, and that was one of those defining moments. It was just this perfect kind of moment where it's like the heartbreak where I thought it was going to go one way. 30 was on the horizon, and all of the expectations, I'm getting goosebumps even right now talking about it. It was like all of the expectations and the shoulds that I had been able to tune out and just listen to my own self and my own intuition, my own navigation system got really loud at this time, right? It was like, he's on the horizon. When are you going to settle down, Jodi? When are you going to get, a pension and a stable career? And, what's yoga like, you're not going to make much money doing a yoga teacher, and that doesn't give you stability. And so all of that just started to weigh on me. And so I thought, okay, well, if I do nursing, I can still be of service. I can travel the world, and it just made sense. So I made that decision at that time to come back and go to university and become a nurse.
What was it like to go from like high levels of trust, traveling the world, following your intuition to then, why does the word reabsorbing? Because it feels like being reabsorbed back into
I know.
traditional life. Like, what was that like?
Honestly, it was hard. And I remember when I arrived back, because I also left Australia too and came back, and it was December. So I come back to Canada where it's like gray and cold, and I feel like I just needed that little bit of boost, and that would have been enough. But I had already started to commit down this path. And it was like each little decision that I made, like that was one big decision, but then I kept making decisions after that, which I was like overriding myself and my own intuition and my own instincts to try and fit in and to belong and to be like, well, this is the safe path. This is how it's supposed to be. At some point, you're telling yourself at some point, Jodi, you have to grow up and you have to do this and to do what everybody else is doing. So I'm like, I guess this is just how life works. And I pushed it off long enough, and now you have to kind of suck it up and do it. But it was, for the next 4 years, it was like fitting a square peg into a round hole, where I was just really trying to bend and contort myself to fit into this.
What do you think pushed you to go the safe route?
I think that's a great question. I think it was just this moment where I had been gone for a long time. And yeah, and so I think I was a little bit tired and a little defeated at that moment. And then too, with the heartbreak, the story that I started telling myself at that time was I was too much. And I started to believe that I wasn't worthy because of the whole pattern and what that relationship had. I started to believe this about myself. And so I think that's too why I was like, okay, I think maybe I should trust others, and maybe they have a point in what they're saying. And how long can I keep going on like this? So I think that was part of that decision-making process for sure.
That makes so much sense. I talk to a lot of women that have been labeled too much, and most of them don't they don't take the chance to spread their wings and follow their intuition and just go. Like, most people choose the same path, the safe path. So it's so interesting to me that the same kind of programming of you're too much and you're not worthy pushed you back onto the safe path
Yeah.
that you were never really meant
That
to
I was
be on.
meant to. No, and you could feel it. I really did feel that shift. And throughout my 30s, it was, it was very challenging for me. And I felt like in my 20s, I was magnetic because I was myself. I trusted myself, and the opportunities and the experiences that I had, and that things came to me so easily, right? And I created my own luck. I created my own opportunities based on that. And then in my 30s, it was very different. It was hard, and I often think about in flow and out of flow, and I was not in flow. Things were very challenging and hard, and really felt like I was trying to force things in my life, even though I knew, and I was like, doesn't feel right. But I just got so far into that path and I just kept
Right.
going until there came a point where I didn't even know who I was. Like I couldn't make a decision for myself for the life of me. I had to talk to everybody else because I
Yeah.
had tuned out that guidance system, that trust for myself that I just didn't even know who I was anymore.
So how did you get it back?
Well, that there came a point where, like I said, just before, now we're looking at just before 40, where I would wake up and not even recognize myself. And there were some things that happened, like my father passed away, which is a life changing experience in itself, where you just really realize the preciousness of life. And I started to look at, like, who are you? Like, this is not the life that that 18-year-old had set out to do. And what are you really doing? And looking and not even seeing myself in my own life anymore. And then I had my young son. And I started to think, I was like, I want him to have that full of life, vibrant woman. Like, I would want him to go after his dreams and to be his own person and to
Right.
do that. But yet I'm not doing that myself. And so I started to think back of that version of me, like that scorpion girl. And I was like, you
Scorpion.
know, what was it about her? Like, 'cause she was full of light and love and like she was magnetic. And I'm like, how do I get that version of me back into this version that I had become? And so that's why that story was really significant, because it really did become like a lighthouse for me. I was like, how do I bring that girl back? What was it about her that was so just everything just came so natural and so easy. And I'd really missed that throughout
Right.
my 30s. Yeah.
Right. And I also wonder, like, how did you know? Like, what did you feel in your body that told you you weren't aligned, something was wrong? I see a lot of women, they confuse responsibility for alignment because they're following a path, they're doing everything right, but something feels weird and they can't identify it. So, what did that feel
Mhm.
like for you that let you know that it was an alignment scorpion girl trying to get out?
Yes. Yes. So for me, it was hard. Like I was in this place where, even though my son was around 1, like between 1 and 2 during this time, and I felt very much alone, and I felt this constant like pressure on my chest. Like it felt
Mm.
like I even had to remind myself to breathe. I just felt this pressure and this sense of almost like hopelessness, where I was like, is this all there is? Is this what life is? Like, I was missing meaning and purpose. And it came to a point where, because I had been performing and trying to be someone I wasn't, I was exhausted.
Mm.
And I didn't want to go out. I didn't feel like I didn't have the energy to talk. And I remember even having, like, it felt like there was two sides of me. There was like the version that goes to work and how she's showing up there and trying to be in her career. And then there's this other version of me. And then there's the ones with like my good friends from back home, because they really knew me. And it was exhausting to try and keep up with all of that.
Yeah.
So it was that, and I remember looking, just feeling that and feeling like I was broken. That was a big thing at that time. I really felt like I was broken and needed fixing, and that too felt overwhelming, because I was like, there's just so many things that felt like it needed fixing at that time, and trying to find the answers, or how to do that. I knew something had to change, but I just didn't know the how or the what at that time.
Right.
Yeah.
So, how did you get her back? What did you do?
So, it was a decision.
Mhm.
Honestly, it was making that decision to choose me, and knowing that by making this decision to choose myself, that everyone else was going to benefit from that, right? And mainly at that time was my son, because like I said, I didn't want him to have this hollowed, watered down version. So yeah, so I made a decision, and I started making some really tough choices in my life to start to move back to who I was, and to be really just authentic and to be myself. And so I think that was really it, is just making that decision first. And then it was started the whole process of looking back and be like, okay, well, what was it? it was almost like little breadcrumbs throughout the life. Like, what are these little pieces here? When did I feel the most like me? When did
Mhm.
I feel the happiest? What things do I really love? What brings me joy? What am I curious about? And kind of bringing all these little pieces back together. And how can I bring this into my life now?
That's great. And so did you leave nursing altogether and transition into coaching? How did that
Yeah.
go?
And so, well, you mentioned the whispers. And so, from the moment I was in Australia, one of my good friends in Australia, he was seeing a life coach at that time. And I'd never heard of it before, but I was really curious. And so, we'd have lots of conversations about it. And it was something that like piqued my interest. When I graduated Western, see, there's always little signs. And so, it's paying
Good.
attention to the signs. But when I graduated from my nursing degree, there was one of the coaching programs, like a big coaching program they were offering like a weekend certification or something at the university. And I remember talking to my mom and being like, oh, like this looks really interesting. Like I would love to do this. And she was like, you just finished
What are you
graduating.
doing?
Can we just focus on this for right now? So I let it go, but it kept coming up and kept coming up. And over like 10 years, it took me 10 years of hearing these whispers and these nudges and maybe slightly moving towards it and then being like, no, no, like you can't do that. Or who are you? Or different things just got in the way, different stories and beliefs that I was telling myself until finally at that time. Yeah. So I made the decision that I was like, that was one of the things I had over the 10 years tried different places within nursing and different roles to try and find where do I belong? How can I use my strengths in this profession? And without finding that, I finally decided, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go and get certified in coaching, do my certification again. And I did that, which was during COVID. It was during COVID. My son was probably like 3 or 4 at this time. I'd moved out. And so I needed the
Big transition.
big transition. So I needed the dust to settle from that before I actually began down that journey. And then I haven't looked back. It's been the most amazing thing. And so I'm so glad I made those decisions that I did at that time.
And you work with entrepreneurs, right?
I do, yes. Now I mainly work with entrepreneurs and some leaders as well, but most of them are entrepreneurs or small business owners.
And you protect against burnout,
Mm.
right? And help people move through that. So what patterns are you seeing over and over and over again?
So, patterns, one definitely common pattern I would see would be people pleasing. And I think that was for me is that people pleasing. We're trying to do what other people think we should be doing, even just within our business. Like, oh, you should be doing it this way or that way. So I think that's a big one. And also to trying all the different strategies and thinking like this person's blueprint to success is going to be my blueprint to
Right.
right? And early on too, I've had to learn this even just myself within my own business of being like, just be you. You are your business. And the more that you can just listen to yourself and trust yourself and those little things that are whispering to you and follow those, the more successful you will be. And it's not about this strategy or that strategy. It's all about you. And so that's the big thing I work with people on is just like, who are you and what are all those stories or those beliefs that you have about yourself and what's possible and pulling that away so you can create the business that you really want. Because otherwise, that's what leads to burnout when we're doing something that is really out of alignment with who we are and what we truly want. We just might not be aware of it.
I hear a lot of women express guilt over
Yes.
wanting more. Do you hear that too?
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought that up. Yes, guilt is a big thing. And I actually did a talk a couple weeks ago and I asked this question. Every single woman, it was a room full of women, every single woman put their hands up that they feel guilty for wanting more. Yeah. And I'm not surprised. I felt that too for a long time. Yeah. Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, because it's like you should be grateful. Like you have it all. You have this great
Yeah.
job and you've got the wonderful
Yeah.
husband and the house and the family and the pets
Yes.
and great friends, and something still isn't in alignment. Right.
And that's exactly too how Thank you for reminding me. That's exactly how I was feeling at that point before I made the decision, right? It's like looking at other people and thinking, they look so content. How are they so content? And what is wrong with me that I have this feeling that I want more and that I'm like settling somehow? And you do feel guilty for it. But what I've realized, and I'm sure you have too, is that you can be grateful for your life and still want more. That's the human experience, is that we are meant to evolve and to fully express ourselves and our gifts in the world.
Yeah. And for me, the more isn't like more money or a new car. It's more, I think it's more authenticity. It's more being me.
Yeah.
And why do you think authenticity is so difficult to achieve?
Because I think it's bold. Like you have to be bold and courageous to one, I think to listen to that internal voice that's guiding you, then to trust it, trust yourself over everyone else, and then to take action on it because people might be telling you, like, no, you should be doing this, you should go this way. But you're like, no, I'm going to trust myself and I'm going to go left, even though you're telling me to go right. And that takes courage. And I do think one of the boldest things that you can do is to just be 100% yourself. It's not easy when there's so much noise out there.
Right.
What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
On why it's so difficult. I think it's fear of being cast out as an other.
Mhm.
Because I think we try to assimilate as much as we can to the middle, so we're all part of one big group, and if you're yourself and you don't completely align, you're gonna be singled out.
Mhm.
So I think it's almost like a deep survival instinct,
Yeah.
and at the same time, I've never been happier than when I'm peel off layer after layer after layer of the mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Because it is like part of my story there when I said it is exhausting when you're not. But it is challenging for sure because we want to be part of the group, part of a collective. And so to stand out, it takes courage.
Because who does she think she is?
Who does she
Who
think
she
she
thinks
is?
she is. She's too much, right, and then it's just like, "Fuck it." We're just gonna we're just gonna go, right.
Then you gotta just go for it.
You're just gonna
And I think too, when you do that, like you might be the first in your group or your community or whatever to start doing that and to be true, but then you're giving everybody else permission to do that. And so once you make those bold moves, then it does ripple out and it allows others to be like, well, hey, if she can do that or he can do that, why can't I?
r
You know?
Okay, so if you stripped away all of the guilt and the fear and everyone else's expectations, is there anything left that you would finally let yourself want? I know.
There like that I haven't allowed myself yet.
Yet.
I think for me, I've done a lot of work over the last few years, and I feel like for years I wouldn't allow myself to have love. Like I didn't feel like I was worthy of that. And there was so much I didn't feel I was worthy of. And that last little piece for me that really hung on there was success and money too. I've basically just repelled money for most most of my life.
Right, right. Like, I don't need that. I can live off
Exactly.
$100 after being stung by a scorpion. It's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
fine. It's
Yeah.
fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. Like, that's it. I think it really is that success piece just because of the stories that I had told myself for so long, and it still takes work, but I've let so much of that go. And two, I think that piece of it is being me, is just being the most authentic version of me and allowing people to see my quirks, to see me for who I really am and not trying to be someone that I'm not, to allow that or who I think I should be in order to create success.
I love it. Hey, are you ready for lightning round questions?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. First answer that comes to mind. Okay. What part of yourself are you finally letting the world see?
I think it is my quirky side. Like, I think it is that and that scorpion girl and even the nurse. I felt for a long time I had to hide these different parts of me, but now I just let it all go. I'm a
You're
little
a
wild.
dog sled trainer. You're a dog sled trainer for crying out loud, Jodi. Keeping it under wraps.
All these little stories, they're all coming out now.
I love it.
My
Okay,
true colors.
so good. Okay, what story or belief about yourself did you have to unlearn to step fully into who you are?
That the story I told myself since I was a little girl was that success wasn't meant for me and that I was a failure.
Well, that's good. That's deep, Jodi.
Yeah.
Good. And what does it cost you to be authentic, if anything? And why
Mm.
is it worth it?
I honestly, I don't think it costs me anything to be authentic. I think it costs me a lot to not be authentic. Yeah.
There we go. Look at you. Oh, this is so fun. Okay. What boundary have you set that protects your sense of self?
Oh my goodness. That is such a good question because I had zero boundaries for probably most of my life.
Yeah.
And now I have a lot of boundaries just around my time and my energy and just how I show up. So I don't know, to just pick one, I'm not really sure.
That's okay. That's good.
I think I just am more confident in who I am, and so I'm okay with just
Right.
being me. This is what I need. This is who I am. Yeah.
Right. Okay. If you could unmute one truth people are
Mm.
too afraid to say, what would it be?
Oh goodness. And I knew this one was coming. We talked about this. This is such a good question.
What keeps you grounded when you feel pressure to perform or fit in?
That's a beautiful question. Honestly, do you know what it is? It's going back to, and I think I might even get a little tattoo of the scorpion girl. It's like that is my grounding of like remembering just who I am,
Scorpion girl.
the scorpion girl.
I love this so much.
So I think that that grounds me and it just brings me back to everything. And then I have my son and
Yeah.
those other things, like so many other things that ground me, but that is a really big thing for me right now is just reconnecting to that and holding on to that. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Fascinating conversation. I love talking with you.
Thank you.
Yes. And if listeners walk away remembering just one thing, what do you hope it is?
I think it's that around the authentic, like just be 100% you. And that is when you create your own luck and become your most magnetic self is when you are you. And the world needs more you.
Because there's only one.
There's only one. And you said it, like you are extraordinary. Like let that shine through. I think that's so beautiful.
I love it. Well, so what has it meant for you to share your story here on Unmute Yourself today?
I think for me, I just want to share because I know that there's other women and people, like I work with a lot of men too, who feel this way. And I think it's just knowing that you're not alone and um and that you can create whatever you want to create, right? You can just make that decision and change. And I hope that my story just helps inspires others to follow their path and to be who they really are.
Amen. And how can listeners find you, connect with you?
So jodiwilding.com is my website. I'm generally on LinkedIn or soon to be YouTube. I will be starting a YouTube channel.
How exciting. Well, let me know when you start. I'll make sure to follow you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Well,
You're so wonderful.
you're like, hey, we could talk forever. I have so many more questions, but that'll be another time. So thank you, Jodi. And thank you to everyone listening and for choosing truth over comfort, alignment over approval, and courage over silence. And remember, I work with senior leaders navigating high stakes decisions. I deliver keynotes that go beyond motivation and coach leaders who are ready to move past being stuck in choices they already know they need to make. Jodi, I think you and I are in a similar boat here. So if that resonates, let's connect and you will find details in the show notes. And if this episode resonated, share, subscribe, and stay with us as we explore what it means to live and lead without muting who we are. Until next time, unmute yourself and be who you already are.